I love animation. It's a way to showcase all sorts of different wonderful art styles or stories. I love indie animation. It's a way to do this with even more variety and subversive concepts and inclusive storylines and characters, which mainstream studios make hard to nigh impossible to achieve without massive changes to the creator's original vision or with the risk of getting cancelled and worse, later becoming a tax write-off. Indie animation doesn't have none of that corporate bullshit attached. This is not to say that shows don't get cancelled or aren't at the risk of getting cancelled, because some of them are, but that's due to a lack of exposure. With enough views and merchandise sales, they'd get saved. This is not true for shows produced by mainstream studios, an A-class example being Infinity Train. Look at the sales for their DVD before it got written off for tax purposes and tell me that it shouldn't have been saved from the cartoon graveyard if it's exposure that was leading it there. And I'm sorry for that mini rant getting this video off track. I still get angry about that fact and all the other TV shows and movies I liked which were getting screwed over. In fact, the very first video I made on this YouTube account was about that. If you enjoy this video, you should consider checking it out. I'll link it down in the pinned comment below. But enough side tangents. Indie animation is amazing, as earlier stated, for several reasons. Some I touched upon earlier. Over the course of the video, I will be recommending various indie animated shows that I enjoy. Please note that not all of them are shows or have confirmed to be shows. Some just have pilots out right now, and others only have trailers. But how I put do the trailers is they look so good and are sadly underrated, in my opinion. So I feel the need to examine fair eyes and praise them to ensure that when the pilot or shows drop on YouTube, more people will check them out, even if it's only a few more people. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the first review, which is a review of Ramshackle is an indie animated pilot which will hopefully get an indie animation show following Skip, Stone and Vinny, three straight rats trying to survive the brutal streets of Ramshackle, where the richest of the rich and poorest of the poor live. Ramshackle is crammed packed with hilarious jokes and visual guides. The characters all well written and defined very well in spite of the little content we've received so far. It seems to me like it will be more of an episodic indie show from what little content that we've been provided with, which will be really nice as all other indie shows I've come across are somewhat serialized, so it would be a nice change of pace. It's one of the best indie animation pilots I've seen in a while, so make sure to give it a watch. It's really cool and I really want it to get fully funded for an animated series. Heathens is an up-and-coming indie animated pilot from the channel Nizaha. Heathens only has 2 trailer sneak peeks up from the pilot, but allows us to see some really nice animation coupled with what looks to be some really great action and sounds to be an amazing magic system based on the dialogue between the characters wherein they reference demons, and the few action scenes we have been shown showcase some sort of magic being used, I'm assuming based off the dialogue. Reminder, this is all theorizing. Go check out the trailer and see whether or not this pilot is something you want to support when it comes out. I know I'll be on the lookout for it. Garnet Heart. Garnet Heart is a parody on the magical girl trope following Garnet, a jaded magical girl looking to get a sidekick, as the government is renewing her contract for 1 year so she can do so. With only one applicant, she has to train her up so that by the end of the year she can leave her job and fulfill her deal. The only applicant is a girl named Newberry, a stiff girl who is eager to learn from her and become a fully licensed and contracted magical girl. And perfecting the trifecta and the show as a whole is Salem, a cat who aids Garnet and brings his sass wherever he goes, his true weapon, not the magic he has. Garnet Heart is just a pilot right now, and it will hopefully get a full season. The pilot alone, however, is very enjoyable, balancing jokes and dark themes really well. It's great for anime fans looking for darker versions of the magical girl tropes and fans of shows like Rick and Morty or Inside Job, with the adult humor, similar art styles, and themes of mental illness being things that all 3 shows shares. However, it differs from them as it's more fantasy-based than sci-fi. Cosmic Travelers. In 2035, a set of machines and humans left Earth forever. They were never seen or heard from again. After failing 3 times at expanding human life without any reason for the failure, they were deemed impossible to succeed, and the interstellar exploration missions were ended. In 2065, Earth is in growing danger, and people are now once again looking to space, wondering if now is the time they could find a new home amongst their number. Among these people is a child named Luke, who finds himself slowly drawn to the mystery of the Great Disconnect. With the help of his robot companions Arya and Amber, Luke may find the answers to what caused the Great Disconnect to occur. Cosmic Travellers is an indie animated show set to come out in 2027 from Studio Starseed, the studio behind The Legend of Lucky Pie. And full disclaimer, but the synopsis I gave for the show is one I made from the trailer they've released alongside interviews available on the YouTube channel. Now, I think my synopsis can still remain very accurate since every piece of information can be sourced through officially released material for the show, and I didn't speculate for any part of it, but it may be proven inaccurate when the show starts to release episodes, and even if sourced through official sources, it still needs to be known that this synopsis was made without a proper episode of the show out, opposing all others on this list with the sole exception of Heathens, so I thought it would be important to say all of this. Now I'm going to speculate on the plot and give my personal thoughts on the animation. Cosmic Travellers is a sci-fi with a mystery elements thrown in. I think it's incredibly interesting sounding, and it will probably have quite a political subplot, drawing parallels with the real world, as I'm assuming we'll see the political ramifications from shutting down the interstellar program within the story, even if only in the beginning, and before cutting to the future, where we'll see people who lived only in a time after the Great Disconnect and their thoughts on the idea of interstellar exploration based off visual indications. We will also be seeing the long-term impacts of things such as climate change within the series and the role that plays in allowing them to reopen interstellar exploration or creating a call for it due to the fact that the Earth is dying, or seeing how it contributes to the start and the end of the interstellar exploration project before the Great Disconnect. This is all very speculative. What I'm not going to need to speculate on for the series is the animation quality. It's going to look amazing. The trailer has absolutely stunning visuals. It looks similar to the anime art style from character designs to backdrops, and I love it. Something that I feel that needs to be mentioned here is that the backdrops are based off what's been shown so far, nearly all using 3D models with some exceptions, but the animators have implemented them smoothly into the art and animation, making it so that you won't take much of a notice of them unless you're actively keeping your eyes peeled for them, which for the record I was. Honest to God, some of these scenes look on par with animated shows from big name studios, which I get is becoming par for the course in terms of indie animation, as many shows get better and better in terms of quality at time of writing this script. However, Cosmic Travellers is very niche without that many views, and I don't think it's getting a lot for crowdfunding based off this fact. So for an animated show, especially one that is funded purely on donations, to be able to produce at this high of quality is really, really impressive. Before I continue, I want it to be known that this is my own opinion. I'm not a professional or even all that well researched on any of this, so take it with a healthy dose of salt. And don't quote me on any of this, especially the crowdfunding part of this video, but I personally think that the quality within Cosmic Travellers is even more praiseworthy when accounting for these factors. Overall, Cosmic Travellers, based off what has been released, is going to be a sci-fi mystery series with an anime-esque art style, and it's definitely worth keeping your eyes on when the pilot is released in 2027. I know I'm keeping my eyes out for it. Lackadaisy, times change, laws change, people still want booze. For the better part of a decade, hidden beneath the inconspicuous Little Daisy Cafe, the city's best well secret has slunk through the first of a probation-weary populace, Lackadaisy. Unfortunately, the once rancorous and roaring speakeasy now rests at a crossroads, its golden age seemingly at an end. Lackadaisy's remaining lawyers are left with a few options, but with all the cunning, tenacity, and sly ingenuity they can muster, they might have a chance. And if that doesn't work, fire does. Lackadaisy is an up-and-coming indie animated TV show which currently has a pilot and 4 animated shorts out at the time of recording this. Lackadaisy is a mix of a mystery, comedy, crime, and historical fiction, pulling this all off amazingly. The jokes are hilarious, especially the ones told with Rocky. The mysteries are eyebrow-raising. The criminal enterprise of Lackadaisy has stakes and tension, both on a personal and business level for the characters. The historical setting plays a role not just in the laws surrounding the alcohol prohibition, but also the treatment of discriminated groups such as women and Jewish people. This is possible thanks to a great number of things, with the main one being the immaculate writing for the characters. The dialogue flows easily and freely without ever feeling forced and stilted. The interactions are layered and nuanced, allowing insight into the relationship between the characters and personalities of each of them. This also ties into what makes the comedy so great, as part of the comedy and plot in general are driven by characters and their actions. The comedy is derived from character interactions and their actions, with witty banter and, well, odd and somewhat insane actions in the case of Rocky, and to a lesser extent Freckles when he's got a gun. Disclaimer, most of this is derived from the comics in terms of story, and I did take my synopsis from volume 1 of Lackadaisy, as I tried to write a synopsis like I normally do for my reviews and failed. failed spectacularly. Like, I tried several times, and that motherfucker was just something I could not put into words. However, I did not see this as a problem, as I've read the comics, and I could tell based off the show that they're sticking quite closely to them, at least based off what we've seen from the pilots, trailers, and many episodes, which is a fair bit of content to go off. You know what I can judge independently from the comics though? The art. The Lackadaisy pilot uses 2D line art which is drawn in a 90s style, which is to say it has sketchy lines that were added in after the animation would typically be considered completed, as this was done to reflect the older days of animation where Lackadaisy takes place, allowing for complete immersion of the viewer of the pilot, which is really, really good. Just goes to show the dedication of the team. And lastly but not least, the music within the pilot was wonderful. While I personally don't know a lot about music, it's a very nice sounding track, and I really enjoy listening to the track from the pilot when working on projects. My personal favourite music from Lackadaisy's channel is Liquid Gold. Can't Run Forever Darling. Once a large family, a string of deaths has dwindled it down to only 3 people, yourself and your parents, until they die too, leaving you with no one. And only one ominous note: you can't run forever, darling. If you told someone of all the deaths within your family, they would call your family cursed due to the deaths your parents did. But you don't believe in curses. You do believe in running. Your parents might have said you can't run, but they are no longer here, and you are. You Can't Run Forever, Darling is an indie animated horror miniseries available to be viewed for free on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, as well as having one full-length YouTube video which compiles the first full-length chapter of You Can't Run Forever, Darling, created solely by Leslie, as is her username on both Instagram and YouTube. The second chapter is also being released as I write the script. The story of You Can't Run Forever, Darling is one built atop themes of intergenerational trauma and demon mythology. Intergenerational trauma is a recurring point of focus for the narrative, as it explores the long-term impacts on people and why exactly these things take place over the course of many generations. Honestly, in some ways that is more horrifying than the demons within the series, as at least those are entirely fictitious. Real people can and have done things like this. And is there anything more scary than humans and our most evil actions? I don't think so. Even though the demons of this story are pretty fucking terrifying. Throughout the narrative, from mentions of mysterious deaths to them following her throughout the entirety of her journey, they are ever present and yet unknown as to what they will be, beyond just genuinely being terrifying. They're a slow burn mystery that ties into the family and what leads them to all their deaths. The animation of I Can't Run Forever, Darling is perfect for the story. It's drawn and animated by one person. I know I mentioned this earlier, but this animation is incredible. I'm amazed that only one person was able to make this. Really speaks to the talent and dedication of the creator. It uses the style of horror comics, but in a much more simplistic manner, with muted, dull colours to create an eerie atmosphere for the series. This eerie atmosphere is furthered by the voice acting. The voice acting is wonderful. Each voice has this really creepy vibe to them, and most of them are monotone at voice, which really contributes to the creep factor. And when they do divinate from these tones of voice, it's in the lead to something big or scary or like a massive decision, which is really good. You Can't Run Forever, Darling is an incredible web series and is, at least in my opinion, the best indie animated horror series out right now. So if you're a fan of horror, you should check it out. Monkey Wrench is an indie animation action series following the mercenary duo of Strike Sanchez and Bulldog Beebs Bounds. As mercenaries taking jobs throughout the universe, whilst a bigger mystery surrounding the seemingly corrupt intergalactic government unfolds in the background and interpersonal conflicts are unraveled. The animation is really good, with amazing fight scenes, and the animation for the weapons is going the extra mile, especially strike guns, and its blast will sell you on this being sci-fi. The dialogue and chemistry between the characters is fun, and the visual gags are hilarious, as well as having animated comic book styled scenes, which I adore. Monkey Wrench is an indie animation series which is still releasing but is on the chopping block due to a lack of funding, which stems from a lack of views. It's available right here on YouTube for free and has 3 episodes with the 4th under production right now. Please go give it a watch. If you have watched it, make sure you've left a like and a comment. All of it counts, and it will mean YouTube promotes it more on the algorithm. I'll be linking the channel down below, as well as episode 1 right now. I hope you have enjoyed this list of indie animated shows and you'll check them out. I have linked them in the pinned comment down below. If you have seen any of the indie animated pilots, trailers, and shows I mentioned, tell me what you thought about them, what you liked about them, and if you didn't like them, why is that the case? Hell, tell me about indie animated trailers, pilots, and shows I haven't spoken about in this video, and if I should watch them. I think I'll probably do a part 2 to this video one day, but not for a while since I've mapped out my plans for the YouTube uploads for the next year. But I will next year if this video manages to get 50 views. So make sure to like and share the video if you want to see that.